This episode we talk about hyperventilating, intervals, and staying driven and motivated with long distance races. Hey guys, welcome to MotoFit TV. I am Andrew Hammer, episode number 5. So smashing through these episodes, I've been going really well, so hopefully we can keep them going over the coming weeks and coming months, and I hope you guys are getting a shit ton of value from the episodes that we've done so far. So we've got a few more questions to go through today, so we'll get straight into it. What was our first question, Jeremy?
Regan Barrett asked, after riding or exercising, I find myself hyperventilating, which I know is not the best way to recover. How should I be breathing during a race or training session to prevent getting to this stage?
Awesome, Regan. So the thing that you want to be able to focus on with your training, especially if you're getting into training or you're following a different type of training or a harder type of training, is you want to be able to focus on being able to make sure that you're gradually increasing the intensity. So one of the biggest mistakes that I see with a lot of riders and racers is they're motivated, they're driven, they're at that point where they want to be able to step up their training and they're looking for something to be able to help them, but they go all in. They kind of go all or nothing. So maybe they've done heaps of training before with a particular sport, maybe it was with racing, and then they've stopped and then they're coming back to it. And what starts to happen is your mind is still back maybe 10 years ago or 5 years ago, whenever you were being active, but your body isn't. So when you go back to training, you automatically assume that your mind's in the same place that it was before when it was at that peak level of fitness or peak level of strength. So you go into the gym, you go into your training, expecting to do exactly what you did before, expecting to have that ability, but your body isn't physically capable of producing the same force or putting out the same output as what it did before. So with any type of training, whether you're coming back from training or even it's your first time getting into training, Regan, then what we want to be able to focus on is we want to be able to make sure that we're gradually increasing the intensity, you're gradually increasing the loads. Now that also comes, number one, from we want to be able to make sure that you're able to recover from every training session. So if you're hyperventilating, you're having troubles recovering, it means we've just ramped up the intensity way too quick in such a short period of time. So it doesn't mean that you're not capable of operating at that intensity. What it means is we just need to be able to ramp it up over a longer period of time. So the first thing that you want to be able to make sure is that with your training is we need to look at training as a lifelong thing, not as just a few weeks or few months. So in saying that, we want to be able to make sure we're ramping up our training over a full race season like this, okay? Constantly improving, constantly getting stronger, constantly getting fitter. Over the next 5 years of racing, we want to see that same trend. Okay, most riders and racers get into training and they want to start a few months before the race season starts, and they put a shit ton of work in and they just go from doing nothing to doing a whole heap, which means their recovery isn't optimal. So with your training, you don't actually get results from the training, you get the results from the recovery from the training. So if you're not recovering from the sessions, you may be putting in all the work and putting in all the time, but you're not really getting the best results from it because you're not recovering. So especially in those initial phases when you're getting back into training, when you're starting more strenuous exercise or more movement than what you've currently been doing, you're going to have a lot more soreness. It's going to take a lot longer for you to be able to recover. So if you're going in there and smashing it, okay, and getting really sore, that's going to mean the consequent sessions you do for the rest of the week are going to be interfered with. So let's just say you come back to training and you're doing a whole heap of squats or a whole heap of high intensity training, and you've gone from doing nothing to high intensity training, Regan, then what that's going to mean is that you're going to be sore, you're going to be tired, you're not going to feel too good, which means that the following sessions for the rest of the week are going to be interfered with as well. If you've got sore legs and you've got no energy and you're really, really sore, you're not going to train as well for the rest of the week, which means that those sessions aren't going to be as efficient as or effective as what they need to be. So my advice, Regan, would be to cut down the intensity, be able to lower the level of intensity you're bringing to your workouts, maybe even the volume depending on how many workouts you're doing per week, and then being able to gradually increase those over the coming weeks till you get to a stage where you can continually increase that intensity and get to this point and be able to recover and not hyperventilate, not have problems recovering from your training. So recovery, super important, and that goes for everyone as well. So what was our next question?
Mark Nettlefold asked, On race day for a 6-hour enduro, what is the best way to stay mentally and physically focused lap after lap, including pit stops?
Awesome question, Mark. So in terms of keeping momentum, in terms of driver motivation is linked to, number one, your emotions, but number two, the level of energy that you have. So the common thing that I hear from a lot of riders and racers is they tell me they don't have enough time. Okay, they don't have enough time to train. They want to go and train 7, 8, 9, 10 days a week. They want to ride 4 times a week. They don't have time to do it. Okay, and that's fine. Everyone's busy, but at the same time, everyone has 24 hours a day. Everyone has the same 24 hours. Okay, I have the same 24 hours that you have, that Chad Reed has, that Ricky Carmichael has, that everyone else has had. It's the same 24 hours. So what we need to be able to focus on is, okay, how are you utilizing those 24 hours? So first of all, we can break that 24 hours down and go, okay, maybe you're working 12 hours a day. Sweet. Okay, that still gives us another 12 hours left over. We have 8 hours of sleep. That gives us a 4-hour gap. So that 4-hour gap, we can fit training into. Okay, so you only need to be training for about an hour 3 times a week. Okay, minimum. So that leaves us another 3 hours left over. Okay, and that's only 3 times a week. So in terms of how that helps with your question, Mark, went a little bit on a tangent, is what we want to be able to make sure is that we're actually maximizing the time that you have training. So the common one that I hear, a lot of guys in construction that work away, okay, that work big hours, 12 to 14 hour days, is it's not that they don't have the time, it's just they don't have the energy, the drive and the motivation to be able to go and train at the end of the workday after they've just done the 12 hours. So the time's there, it's just they don't have the energy to be able to utilize it. So that comes back down to food and making sure you're training correctly, because if you don't have high levels of energy, that your drive and motivation is going to automatically decline. When you get home from work, you're not going to feel like training if you've been eating shit all day or haven't fueled yourself correctly to be able to peak your energy for when you're actually going to train. So that means your consistency with training isn't going to be as good. So exactly the same goes for race day, Mark. If you're getting to race day and finding your drive and motivation through an enduro or through a race isn't as good when you're stopping, then what that's going to mean is that you haven't fueled yourself correctly. You haven't been eating the right foods. You haven't filled your fuel tank up. So your drive and motivation is going to decline because you don't have any energy. You feel lethargic. You feel tired. You're worn out. You're fatigued. You just don't want to go anymore. So your drive and motivation is going to be much lower. So it's not about so much drive and motivation. It's more about being able to fuel yourself correctly and putting your body in the right physical state for it to be able to be in the right mental state as well. So all about being able to focus in terms of maximizing your energy, maximizing recovery, making sure you have the right tools in the toolbox to be able to get through the moto, so that drive and motivation is there. Having the right systems in place, having the right procedures in place to be able to make sure that that consistency is there with your level of energy. So I hope that answers your question for today, Mark. So what's our next one? Third and final question for today.
Elsie Neve asked, what are the best intervals for running? I currently do 1 minute run, 30-second rest for a half hour. I'm aiming to race enduro and not motocross.
Okay, cool, Elsie. So enduro question, and that's funny that that one's brought up as well, because I had a few guys that have actually messaged me and said, oh, what do I do for enduro? Because this show seems to be more tailored towards motocross races. I'm an enduro racer, so what do I need to do different? Enduro races are not a special species. Your road races are not a special species, okay? In terms of the type of training you need to be doing, you all need to be developing strength, whether it's road racing, whether it's trials, whether it's enduro, whether it's motocross, whether it's racing sidecars, solo bikes, whatever it is, you need to be developing your strength, because the stronger you get, the better your endurance is going to be. Everyone cracks on about their particular sport as if it's a different sport to all the other different motorsports, when really it's not. You need to be able to develop your strength and get stronger overall, because that's what's going to develop your endurance. If we can double your strength over the next coming month, or if you can double your strength over the next coming months and you put in the work, imagine how that's going to feel on an enduro bike. You've got a 100 to 130 kilo enduro bike when it's got its tank on there and everything else. Imagine how that's going to feel to be able to throw that around if we can double your strength. Okay, obviously it's going to be a shit ton easier. So what that means is we've just improved your endurance. When you get stronger, everything else becomes easier. So imagine the strength you have now, throwing 130 kilos around. And then imagine we double that over the coming months. Imagine how that's then going to feel with 130 kilos. We don't need to be working specifically on endurance. We need to be working on strength, because the strength is what gives you the endurance, Elsie, okay? So it's about being able to get stronger, because that's going to give you the endurance. A lot of riders and racers get caught up in going, oh, I'm an endurance athlete. You're not endurance athletes, okay? You're strength athletes. You're more a strength athlete than you are an endurance athlete. athlete. Yes, you have long distance motos, whether that means you're doing Think or you're doing any other Hadar, doing any other longer events, that's all well and good. But endurance athletes don't have 100, 130, 150 kilo bikes to throw around. Okay, they use their body weight, they have cycling, they're in a swimming pool, they're doing kayaking. Okay, they're not using super heavy weights. So you need to be able to focus, Elsie, on being able to develop your strength, being able to get a shit ton stronger, being able to change your mindset on how you look at training and how you perceive yourself as a rider and racer, and be able to look at yourself as someone who is a strength athlete rather than an endurance athlete, because the strength is going to give you the endurance. Okay, if you can double your strength, the endurance part becomes very, very easy. It doesn't matter how good your cardio is, how much running you do, how much cycling you do. If you're not getting stronger, the 130 kilo bike is still going to feel a shit ton too heavy. So all about developing strength, using those multi-joint movements like we talked about in previous episodes, using weight training, staying away from the long distance cardio, using shorter intervals. Work for say 20 seconds at a time, have 40 seconds rest, do 10 rounds of that. It's all about using shorter intervals because that's what gives you the higher intensity. If you're using longer intervals at say a minute, which you can use every now and then, but if we're continually using them, the intensity is going to drop because we're working for a longer period of time. When you work for that longer period of time, the intensity drops. When we work for shorter periods of time, the intensity rises. We want the highest intensity possible because that's what reflects what happens on race day. Okay, we're not at a steady pace when on race day. The intensity is constantly fluctuating lap by lap, corner by corner in every race meet. So I hope that answers your question, Elsie, and probably answers the same question for a heap of other people that are watching as well. So grateful for you to be able to bring that up, which is awesome. So what I want to do today for our question of the day, I want to get some more questions coming in. So what I want to be able to do is I want you to post up below, what question would you like me to answer for our coming episodes of MotoFit TV? What can I answer for you? What have we not covered? What are you not sure about? What do you think is going to help you more specifically? And maybe we can get you featured on one of the future episodes. So if you can post up below in the comments, that would be awesome. And also, if you've enjoyed our episodes, I want to try and get as many people watching as possible. If you could like the video and share as well, and maybe even tag some other riders and racers that you know that will find this video helpful, that would be awesome. So I hope everyone has a great day. Hope everyone's getting out on the bike on the weekend. And remember, train hard, race harder. See you guys.